All right, so that's the end of the mini lecture series about journal clubs. I just have a couple more things to mention. So when completing your journal club, you're going to get asked questions by your preceptors and audience members as well. So just a couple of things that I've learned through the few years that I've been doing journal clubs. One, it's perfectly okay to say you don't know. And in fact, I recommend that you say you don't know if you don't have a clue. In some circumstances, it is okay if someone asks you a question and you say, well, I know this, this, and this, and so therefore that would, make me have the opinion that this was true, or, however you want to explain your answer. When you're doing that, though, make sure that you explain what you know and how it affects your answer, because the preceptors, they just want to see that you are critically thinking and that you're well prepared. And so even if you don't know the exact answer, that's okay. And you can always follow up by saying, I'm not sure the exact answer, but I'd be happy to get back to you later on after this presentation. And usually when you say get back to them later on, that's usually within 1 to 2 business days, if not same day. That's an expectation that you'll have to talk about with your preceptor. But usually I've had preceptors who are totally fine with it either being the next day or in 2 days. So just again, talk about expectations with your preceptor. Another thing that I already mentioned, but I just want to hit on again, is that make sure you ask your preceptor what format they prefer, because you don't want to be, giving a Word document when they expected a PowerPoint and vice versa. If you have a journal club assignment, make sure you ask your preceptor, how much time do I have for this? And be very clear. Do you expect 20 minutes of presentation with 5 minutes of question and answer? Or do you expect 30 minutes of presentation with question and answer time afterwards? That will help you kind of gauge how much content to include, because really you could make a journal club an hour long, or you could make it 20 minutes long. It really depends. I've even had circumstances where they wanted a 10-minute journal club. So it really just depends how much time do you have and what's the expectation. Another thing is I do recommend that you practice your journal club. Sometimes if your preceptor is more relaxed and they say to you, oh, I just want it to be kind of a discussion, maybe in those circumstances, you wouldn't need to necessarily practice beforehand. But if you're going to have a big audience, or if, this is your final assignment for the rotation, I recommend practicing with a non-healthcare member. So whether that be a significant other who's not in healthcare, or a friend, or a parent, and if it's a healthcare member, that's fine as well. But just try to conduct the journal club in such a way that your audience will be unfamiliar with the topic, because I've had experiences where my significant other would listen to my journal club and ask me questions that I couldn't answer. And that identifies where you need to improve on your knowledge. So just try to understand it to the best of your ability and practice if you have time. And then just kind of on a professionalism note, if you say or ah or just filler words a lot, you don't need to apologize for that in the moment. I myself say and ah a lot, and I'm still working on it after almost a full year of residency and all my student rotations. It's going to be a continuing process. So you don't need to apologize during the moment. Just recognize that you might get feedback about it and try to work on it in the future. Something else is try not to include any images that are not relevant to the topic. So if you have a really cute dog or pictures of flowers that you really like, don't include that. It's very distracting. It will be viewed as unprofessional, and it's just very unnecessary. So don't try to make your slides cute or more interesting by including images or graphics that are not relevant to your topic. Use graphics very strategically, either to take space to better explain what you're talking about, or to elaborate on something that you're talking about. And then when you're being asked questions by preceptors, I highly recommend that you do not guess. Because if you state something that's blatantly wrong, that's going to go over worse than you just saying, I'm not sure. So it is perfectly okay. And when you are doing your question and answer portion, I recommend that you actually take notes. So take notes of who asked you the question and what the question was, and that will make following up and answering those questions so much easier. In some cases, what I do is I actually record all the questions and then write all the answers for them with my references. And then I actually include that in my slide deck for my reference later on. I don't usually send that version out, but if you include all the questions that you got about your presentation, sometimes that will help you be better prepared for the next presentation, whether it be that you're repeating your journal club or whether it be that it helps you anticipate questions for the next time you do a journal club. So that's all I have for you today about journal clubs. I really hope that this was helpful. And if it was, if you got any sort of benefit, I'd really appreciate if you filled out this Survey Monkey. I'm interested in teaching one day as part of my career. And so any feedback that I can get that is constructive would be really helpful. My email is here. This is a 1, so Madeline Grant 1@va.gov. I'm always happy to answer questions if they're relevant to the topic. And again, I hope this was helpful, and I hope that your student rotations go wonderfully.